Hello, and welcome back to another daily dose for the Chris McPherson Show. And we are here today to talk some F1. The championship is heating up. The drama on and off the track is heating up. And of course, when we start to talk Formula One, we welcome in our guru, our producer, the man that plays all the magic behind the scenes for us, JR Carter. You're our motorsport man, and you are here to talk some F1, my friend.
That I am. How are you, Chris?
I am going very well. As I said just before, it's certainly heating up. I think that's fair to say, both on the track, off the track, and in the press. Let's start, though, where give credit where credit is due. And the Singapore F1 Grand Prix is now in the rear vision mirror, pardon the pun, but George Russell gets his second win of the season, which has probably been the smallest talking point out of this race.
It really has. Like George rocked up, like did really well during qualifying, started on pole, and then just ran his own race. Like he was just out the front. The broadcast didn't really show a lot of what George was up to. Like there was a couple of times where like it looked like maybe someone might catch him, but not really. So yeah, George, well done. Just a very dominant weekend for him.
We might get into the broadcast a little bit later on, but let's talk about, obviously, the big outcomes that came out of the race. And the first of those is that the Constructors' Championship is in the bag for McLaren, but you could be forgiven for thinking that they weren't happy about it if you saw some of the photos of the team celebrating, I'll call it, the Constructors' Championship win.
The Constructors' Championship win, I think, is going to be a talking point for some time. So just to give you a bit of a timeline. So the podium happened. So Lando did get on the podium despite like the terrible driving that he did and like just the unsportsmanlike behaviour he's been showing this race. But the biggest thing was that the other drivers who aren't on the podium are required to go down to the press area. Like they're doing their interview, and Lando should have been down there as well. McLaren then, with some direction from the F1 organisation, so to get like the images and that sort of stuff up on the screen, like F1 was involved in some way, shape, or form, decided while Oscar is in the press pit, is the best time for them to celebrate their championship win. It's unheard of. There's a really, like, I won't say great shot, but a really harrowing shot of Oscar just looking behind him on the screen, seeing it there, just down he went. Like it's not fair on the championship leader to just be excluded like that. That was uncalled for.
Yeah, it feels like fairness isn't really a key tenet or value for Zach Brown and his crew at McLaren at the moment, doesn't it?
No, that's right. Like they've been on about fairness the entire season, about their payer rules, and for them just to exclude Oscar from this, and like there's talk like, they could have like Oscar could have had that choice. It doesn't look like Oscar was given a choice. Like Oscar was already down in the press area. Like so, or better yet, someone from McLaren could have gone and got him, like and said, "Hey, like even though this breaks the rules, we're going to do this now." And Oscar probably would be like, "All right, let's go."
Yeah, it's a bizarre one. There's a lot that's gone into, there was the early perception in the early days of this year's championship and this year's slate of races that it seemed like there was some, tilts towards Lando, but then, it became inherently clear from Monza on that this is, as far as McLaren seems to be concerned, and again, they haven't come out and said this, they've come out and said the opposite, but actions and words aren't aligning here. It's Lando's team, and they're essentially going to do what they can within their bounds without absolutely throwing the apple cart upside down, but they're prepared to tilt it to help him catch what is now a 20-odd point gap between himself and Oscar.
That's right. It's less than a DNF at this point. So like that's all it's going to take now. Monza was the other big one. Like with Lando having a slow pit stop and then being asked to swap places, that was where this just all fell apart. Like at that stage, like it's the bias has been now shown like really, really clearly. And something very similar happened in this race as well. So like in Singapore, Oscar had a slow stop. Now, based on the timings of it, if Oscar hadn't had that slow stop, Oscar would have been possibly half a second ahead of Lando when the race ended. That's like it's just uncalled for, like what McLaren's up to.
Yeah, it's pretty ordinary. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to view it, though, for the McLaren, the team papaya, this is coming to a head. There is now, both races have had 14 podiums. Piastri, though, with 7 wins, so he's clearly leading. It is only 22 points, but pardon my mixed metaphors and getting my puns and everything mixed up here. There is a raging Red Bull in the Papaya China shop at the moment that is possibly going to throw an absolute spanner in the works as Max, off the back of having had 2 wins, now finished second in Singapore and further closes that gap. It's now 41 points to Lando, which means with another, DNF or a poor response from Lando, Max could very much close that. And then it's only just over 60 to Oscar. So with the races to come, Max is well in striking distance considering the form he's in.
Max is definitely in striking distance, and it's not just the form Max is in; it's the form that team is in. And Laurent Merkel, it's just became this beast again. And it seems like the team's just working on all cylinders. Like we haven't seen a lot out of Yuki, unfortunately. But I'm sure Yuki's got a role to play in all this that you were alluding to off air.
I was going to say, yeah, for anyone, and I'm assuming most of our F1 fans have seen the F1 movie. I'm seeing some Brad Pitt-esque moves. Again, Yuki's a dashing, handsome, much shorter version of Brad Pitt, clearly. Just a bit of rogue, running over some debris, getting a flat tire, slowing things down, congesting fields as it suits Red Bull's needs. I know it's technically illegal, as you raised, but good luck proving it, and it would be entertaining, the theatre of it all. And as much as I don't want to see Oscar not win it, I'd rather see Max win it than Lando.
Oh, absolutely! I'd like to see a championship battle between Oscar and Max, and just seeing the old hand and the new hand sort of going at it. Whereas if Lando never wins another race again, I'd be really happy right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be disappointed if next week something happened to Lando, nothing too serious, but ruling him out of the season. But do
they have a reserve driver right now if they drop their F2 bloke?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Maybe Zach can drive, and then Yuki can run him off the track. That'd make me feel good.
That would be good.
I think he might break the weight limits and requirements of their car and all the ballast issues, etc., etc. So, it's an interesting space, and in terms of it, we do now turn to the Circuit of the Americas, and it's sort of this, American, Central American, North American, Central American, South American swing for the next few races with the US, Mexico, and Brazil to come.
That it is, and very early starts, between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. It's looking like the 8 a.m. one's actually kind of palatable, to be honest.
I was going to say, these are very Chris-friendly times, not JR-friendly times.
Well, look, the 4 a.m. one's not so bad for me, with what I do for a living, but that's still the end of my workday. I'd rather sort of just crash out at that point.
Yes, well, we will suffer for the viewers because we do love to get there and watch as much of it as we can. And I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of watching and viewing and enjoying what's going on, JR, Charles Leclerc, I think it was, that came out this week and has raised some, or was it Carlos Sainz, sorry, raised some issues around the broadcast.
Yes, it was the other member of the van duo that sort of brought this up. But yeah, he's raised some really great issues where they don't seem to be focusing on racing; they seem to be focusing on everything going on around the race. We sort of spoke about Drive Survive in the past on this show. Where I'm not exactly a fan of the concept of it. While it's brought a lot of fans, I think it's now leaking into the broadcast. Where we've seen a lot of shots of drivers' girlfriends on the weekend, as opposed to the battles that were going on track, where Fernando Alonso was on an absolute tear. Lewis was working another set of overtakes. Where were these sort of happening on broadcast?
Yeah, exactly. I'll read the quotes because I think it's and again, I'll apologise if I butcher the outlet that he was doing the interview for, but El Partidazo de Cope. It's becoming a bit of a trend, which must have worked for them once upon a time when people found it interesting to see our girlfriends, to see famous people on TV, the reactions. I understand that if there is an overtake, a very tense moment in the race, it is understandable that the production team might want to show a reaction shot if they've seen that it's worked in the past. But if the competition is respected and you are always showing the important moments of the race, last weekend they didn't show any of the 4 or 5 overtakes I did at the end, referencing himself, Carlos Sainz, nor did they show Fernando's pursuit of Lewis. They missed a lot of things. The others is fine, but don't lose sight of the main thing. For me, they go overboard a little bit, showing the celebrities and girlfriends. To that point, JR, it is very focused around, and we talked about this, there is a fine line in this day and age of streaming and attention for the fight for the attention and the fight for eyeballs, around the fine line between sport and entertainment, or in this case, racing and entertainment. And I understand they've got to go there, but it feels like if this is the dial from racing to entertainment, we need to be sort of fluctuating here, but we're kind of leaning well over to the, and I don't want to make this left versus right because otherwise we'll start inciting Donald Trump and other things, but towards the entertainment side more so, and are we losing the integrity of some of the racing pieces that keeps the purists like yourself engaged in the sport?
Look, I don't know if we're going to lose sort of purists entirely, but I think they need to sort of work out the balance of like what they're doing because they're showing like reaction shots every time something happens with these guys. Show like I'm all for showing a reaction shot, but do it once in broadcast. Like the real place for the celebrities, I think, in the broadcast is during Martin Brundle's pit walk. That's where like we want to see that sort of stuff. We can see those awkward moments, like where Lewis Capaldi like just got left hanging by the port by Martin as he wandered off. He just wanted a handshake. That's all he wanted.
Martin Brundle is an icon in his own right, just like Lewis Capaldi. But yeah, I think the same. And sometimes it feels like once upon a time we would have seen a lot more of team and garage reactions, and now we're seeing those celebrities that are there who might not be as in the wool in the F1, but certainly are maybe more recognisable than some of the engineers and things. But at the end of the day, the engineers are in brightly coloured tracksuits. So if you're a fan of the entertainment side, you're still going to work out who they're belonging to. And some of those reactions when you see 15 people dejected or elated, is much more in the integrity of it all.
That's right. You'll see actual emotion, like what it means to the team, like when something happens. Like you'll see a couple of weeks ago when Carlos got that podium. Like that's the sort of thing you want to see the reaction to. Like you don't want to see Carlos, like you do, like seeing Carlos's girlfriend once, sure, but seeing the team reaction, I think, is so much more important.
Yeah, I think so. I think we need to get back to the racing and, make it, what they call it, the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, 80% racing, 20% entertainment, not the other way around, because it will very much change the face of our sport over time as that changes and will dilute it. I understand that there is a need to expand the footprint, the reach, all those things to continue to bring in the revenue and all those pieces, but it's got to be not at the expense of the integrity of the sport. So it'll be interesting to see. As I said, JR, we now head in a week and a half's time into the Circuit of the Americas. It's going to this next sort of 3-race swing is going to be so key because it's going to go a long way towards determining the championship. A DNF for any of the top 3 will drastically impact their, or not even a DNF, an outside or a low points finish will drastically impact it if the others are finishing high in the points. We could see, if Oscar fails to finish, Lando could actually lead after the next couple of races, and if one of the McLaren fail, then all of a sudden, or both do, then all of a sudden Max is going to be in striking distance, and it's going to be a red hot finish, which will be exciting for the neutrals.
That's right. Like I think a lot of those sort of midfield teams can really step up during this sort of time as well. Like Ferrari's, like I know I just said midfield, but Ferrari's got time to shine here as well, where they can sort of secure their place in the constructors championship. The biggest thing is like whichever McLaren driver finishes ahead at Circuit of Americas, I think is going to be the one that goes on to take on the World Championship.
Well, only our time will tell when we have a look at it. We are on the run home. When we have a look at it, there's it's a handful of races. What are we down to now in terms of total races remaining?
We are down to standby. I had this on my.
I had it just before, and I can't find the tab I had it in. So, as I said, it is now. We've got back-to-back races in the US and Mexico, into Brazil, and then 3 more after that. So, realistically, as we say, it would be great, but this is a 6-race run over the next couple of months. It's basically going to be a 2-month window. So, we're basically going to have 6 races in about 8 to 9 weeks. It is going to determine the championship. It could be determined as early as possibly Mexico. If Oscar was to win the next 2 races, it would go a long way towards locking that in. But with how competitive the Red Bulls are, some of these other teams starting to come into the mix and popping their head up as well, it's going to be really exciting. And then obviously watching those jostling for positions further down in the constructors as well is going to be quite a key piece because we know what prize money that means. That's right. Like those lower teams are sort of just fighting for like their development potential for the next couple of years with the new regs coming in next year as well. Yeah, certainly. Well, not just new regs, a new team coming in as well, as we know. We're really looking forward to that. But for the time being, JR, a big thank you to you. As always, great to get the good oil, if you will. Geez, I'm good with the terrible puns today on the F1. And I can't wait. As I said, these are in my sweet spot of the early hours of the morning. So these are the races that I'll be primed and ready to rock and roll for. I know you're going to battle through, but we look forward to talking a bit of motorsport in the next couple of weeks as this continues to heat up. Absolutely. A big thank you to you all for tuning in. As always, if you haven't already, hit subscribe down below on YouTube. You can hit the bell as well. You'll get the notifications about each and every one of our daily doses, our Around the Grounds episodes, our special feature interviews as well. And if you haven't already, follow us along on your favourite social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, X, TikTok, or Facebook at The Chris Mack Show. But until next time, a big thank you for tuning into your home of the black and white of your sporting landscape. No grey opinions here.